What's up, guys? Today we're going to talk about 5 pieces of camera gear that once I knew about them, I could not live without. Let's go. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the vlog. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys watching these videos, liking, commenting, sharing, all that good stuff. So today we're talking about some gear that when I started out, I really didn't know about, and once I found out about it, I don't know how I would shoot without them anymore. So let's get right into it. Number 1 is filters. A few episodes ago, I talked briefly about ND filters, which is basically like sunglasses for your camera that allows you to keep your camera settings when you're shooting in really bright sunlight. A couple of others are UV filters and polarized filters. Now, I just found the other day that I was without one of these guys, a polarizer, when I was shooting something through a window and realized that the glare was terrible. That's what this little magic piece does. It can rotate, it basically adjusts light in a way that you can cut down on reflections in glass and water. If you're trying to shoot someone inside of a window, that you can get rid of that glare and control it a little bit more. To me, it's basically like magic. Number 2 is having a second camera. Now, I know that may not seem like quite as big a deal if you're doing photography, even though it is very convenient to have one camera with a certain lens and another camera with another lens already on it to be able to switch out quickly if you're doing events like weddings and things like that. But for video, it has been huge, especially when you're doing interviews and things like that. You want to have a second angle, but you don't want to have to do the interview twice in a row with the same camera in a different spot, which is actually what I did until I had another camera. Now, of course, there's also the option of shooting in 4K and being able to crop in on that image. That's actually how I'm shooting this right now. So you can go from here to here and back to here. So you can basically simulate that you have 2 different camera angles from the same camera because you're shooting at a higher quality, and then when you take it down to HD, you can actually zoom in quite a bit and still retain that quality. Where the second camera still comes in is when I'm shooting a video, but I also need to do a time lapse if I have somebody else shooting with me, obviously, or if we're doing some kind of behind the scenes thing, that second camera is invaluable. Number 3 is fast lenses. Now, that may be kind of a weird thing. You might not know what that means. Basically, a lens that can have a lower aperture value, which means you can let more light into that lens. So we talked about shooting in bright sunlight when you need an ND filter. This is on the other end when we're shooting in low light. You can adjust that aperture down so you actually let more light into that lens, and you're gonna have much better low light performance. This lens I'm using right now is the Sigma 24mm 1.4, which means it can go down to 1.4 on the aperture, which lets in quite a bit of light. It makes a super shallow depth of field, so it can be hard to focus in that. But usually if you're anywhere from 1.8 to 2.8, you're gonna get a pretty good low light performance. But other times when I've been using lenses that the lowest point was 4.0, I just couldn't get what I needed out of them for the low light performance. Number 4 is stabilization. Oh my gosh, to me, there's really nothing that's gonna make your video as cinematic as having these super smooth, buttery camera movements. Now, I know you can get that somewhat when you put things in slow motion. If you shoot up to 120 frames, usually even handheld, you can get enough stability to get some nice smooth footage. But when you're shooting in real time, when you're at 24 frames per second and you need to do some nice camera movement, you want to keep things nice and smooth, that is where something like a gimbal comes in. There are other options for stabilization like glide cams. There's a simple way of even just using the camera strap and keeping it taut to kind of create a little more tension to keep that camera movement smooth. But there is nothing like a gimbal to stabilize your footage. I've got this guy right here. It's the DJI Ronin S. This thing can handle the weight of my 5D Mark IV with a heavy lens, even with a microphone on it as well. and it just makes everything incredibly smooth and makes it look so much more professional and cinematic. So the camera sits in this little cradle. You have the handle to hold on to. The bottom of this one has an additional extension so you can use two hands because this thing does get pretty heavy, and it is just incredible. So insert some smooth gimbal footage here. Lastly, number 5, something I just recently added is a monitor. Oh my gosh. So instead of looking at this little tiny LCD screen on your camera, you are now looking at a normal size screen. Mine is 5.7, I believe. They also have a 7-inch, but when that's mounted on top of your camera, I feel like that's maybe a little more than what I need. But anyway, this can help so much in finding focus, making sure your framing is exactly what you want it to be. And when your camera doesn't have a flip out screen, like mine doesn't, I can turn the monitor around like I have it right now and doing vlogs and things like that, so I can actually see what's happening on camera, but also to be able to shoot lower shots where I need to look down at the camera or I can't lay down on the floor to look through my viewfinder. I can flip that monitor up and see exactly what I'm shooting. It is a huge help. A lot of these monitors also have things that aren't built into every camera. They have a zebra option, which will show you where your highlights are overexposed. There's a focus assist or focus peaking that'll actually give you a certain color that you've picked, where your image is in focus, that just helps something more than just using your eye to judge focus. Some of these monitors are also external recorders, so you can record out of your camera straight into that monitor onto a memory card or a hard drive, and a lot of times that allows you to output a higher quality signal than what you can get in camera, which is super cool. So this first monitor I got, I didn't go crazy. I didn't buy super high end. I've got the Feel World 5.7, I think it was, or 5.4, now I can't remember. I'll link that down below if you want to check it out. I feel like it was already a great investment for what it's done for me on these videos. So make sure to comment below, what is your #1 piece of camera gear that you can't do without? The camera's kind of a given, okay? So we're talking like accessories here. So comment down below, I wanna know what your #1 can't live without accessory is. That's it for today, guys. I've got some awesome new stuff coming very soon. So make sure you like this video, subscribe and hit that bell so you'll know when new videos come up, and I will see you next time.